So the question I get asked most often is, how can a Bible story be both for an atheist, a rationalist, and a creationist, as I'm saying biblical is? It seems an impossible contradiction. So the only way to really explain this is to show you. Let's look at the Babel story, which is a major plot point within biblical. And it's a story that certainly seems to stretch the definition of credulity to way beyond the max. How are you going to build a tower to physically get up into heaven and wage war, physical war on God? Even if you could do it, it sounds like a losing battle to me. More practically, how are you going to convince anyone to get on board with this crazy and seemingly pointless mission that's doomed to failure from the outset? Now, for whatever else it is, the Bible is a document that's been extremely closely studied by very intelligent people across the centuries. So, what the hell's going on here? When you look at the text dealing with it closely, it actually gets more oblique than it does clearer. The few details we have include the location, which was in a valley. Now, let me ask you, if you're going to build a tower to get up into heaven, wouldn't it make more sense to build it at the top of a mountain? You know, probably if you wanted to convince primitive humans to do this, why build a tower at all? Just say heaven is at the top of this mountain that breaks the cloud layer, like the Greeks did. If you're going to be talking people into something, that seems like an easier sell. Next, it says the tower was made from man-made bricks rather than mined stone. So, if you're building a massively tall structure, you would know to use the strongest building materials possible, which would be mined stone. Primitive society knew this. Again, how are you going to convince anyone to get on board with this cockeyed crusade bound for failure and executed in just the stupidest way humanly possible? So this is where really getting inside the ancient commentaries can give us a key to understanding this mess. As always, I'm not telling anyone what to believe, just how a rational, intelligent person can read the Bible and what was probably the original intent of the text here. So the Valiant Senior, which is where the tower was built, was the lowest place on earth. It was built by the first generation after the flood, so it's a post-apocalyptic society. And that apocalypse would have almost certainly dictated just about everything about that society. You know, just like in Mad Max, where their world is defined by the apocalypse they experienced, so too with this world. The location and the building materials, which seem like peripheral details, are actually all important here, which is kind of generally true of all Bible scholarship. If it seems unimportant, it's probably very, very, very important. This was the area that acted as a sinkhole for the world, where the floodwaters would have receded through. You know, just when you have a filthy kid and you take them and you put them in the bath and you wash them off and you let the water go down the plug hole and all the gunk from the kid gets caught in the plug hole, so too here. This would have been where the sediment of the entire world would have resided. And that sediment would have been the remains of the dead of an entire generation, the dead of an entire world. And that's what the bricks of the tower were made from. The dead killed in this apocalyptical flood. We also know the tower's creator, Nimrod, was the world's first totalitarian demigod, and he stood in stark contrast and opposition to Abraham, and indeed sought to kill him in the furnaces that were used to make the bricks of Babel. So the conceit in biblical, which actually comes from a brilliantly clever rabbi called Ari Khan, go to Amazon now, check out his books, they're great for any thinking person, regardless of your worldview. The conceit of biblical is the tower was in fact a focal point for a theological war against God, a war against the idea of goodness and kindness and compassion. Nimrod's ideology was essentially that might makes right, and it was an ideology I can see being very heavily influenced by the apocalypse of the flood. And moreover, this totalitarianism became the archetype for all fascism and totalitarianisms throughout history, where freedom of ideas and viewpoints and speech cannot be tolerated and must be silenced. Now, how relevant is that for an idea for today? Social media recently asked the question, is it okay to punch a Nazi in the face? And you know what? It probably is. But what's not okay is to label anyone a Nazi who has ideas that you don't like or you don't agree with. And again, how relevant of an idea is that for today? That freedom of speech is the cornerstone and the wall that holds back fascism. Once that goes, we've seen time and time again that all liberties and freedoms soon follow on. And there you have it, a Bible story that's relevant for an atheist, a rationalist, a creationist, and heaven help us, even a rogue such as myself. So, if it piqued your interest, go on Kickstarter right now and check out my graphic novel, Biblical, Bible Stories, so atheists, creationists, rationalists, and rogues. It's fantastic!